Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to Fandom Family Chats. I'm Maureen.
I'm Tiffany. I'm Amanda.
And we are finally back with Resident. And we actually just found out that the finale is next week already. So the very thing we were complaining to you about in our last Resident video has reared its ugly head again. So, but we're here for the Resident. It was a good episode this week. We're going to dig in. We got a lot of answers that we were looking for. They did write some of the stories the way we requested they write the stories. So we really appreciate being listened to on that and accept that our advice is solid and adhered to. We just like to know that we matter and we're important. So
we appreciate
thank you for that. So the story we're going to dive into first is the one that hit all of us the hardest, and I'm sure has hit you the hardest. And we see that finally Leela was able to get through the Padma. And who predicted that she was going to see the picture and step off the ledge? Was that Amanda?
Me.
I watched. I was like, oh, it happened exactly the way she said, but I don't remember which she it was. So
yes, no, I thought it was gonna I thought the last episode was gonna end that way. That's what I was saying. That
yeah,
I was like, but hopefully when they started it again, that's what's gonna happen.
It was carried over. It was the same scene, so technically you're not wrong.
Technically,
I'm
not wrong.
Did end that way. We'll talk about it in a minute, but it's nice to see Leela be the one to break through. I think we all kind of wanted to see that, and now Leela is like she knew something was wrong, but this episode we see her fully recognize the scope of what was happening and how bad it got.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that I think Leela handled it with such grace.
Yeah.
And so calmly. And it really did amaze me of how she handled that entire thing. I have a couple of issues. One being AJ wasn't told anything for a while. That kind of weirded me out. I understand that he was dealing with this important patient and that his mind shouldn't have been there. But on the other hand, I feel like his kids would be a bigger priority than this patient.
Well, I think for us, the reason that's such a problem for us is because we never know exactly how much time has passed. Was it just an hour? Was it 2 hours? Was it a day? Was it 3 days? Was it a week? Like because some parts of the episode,
the whole day,
but some parts of the episode, it felt like it was the same day, but then other parts of the episode felt like it was a week. So like, I don't know how much. So I don't really know how long they kept it from AJ. If it was within a few hours, I that's okay for me, I think.
So the way that I was watching it, it felt like it was like one day. Like I feel like from the morning to like the evening is the feeling that I got. I don't know.
I will say that when I was watching that scene, I actually thought for a moment, like, because the whole time leading up to this episode, to this opening scene, I thought there's no way she's going to jump. They're going to pull her up before she does that.
Yeah.
But in this opening scene, I had a moment where I was like, no. And I actually thought they were going to have her jump and she was going to have to be rescued from the river. And that was how they were going to find her. As far as they took it, I actually thought there was a chance they were going to do that. And I was completely panicked.
Yeah, I would say at first I didn't, but it's like they pushed it like a couple of seconds too long to where I was like,
they needed to though.
I did too. I think I really think that they played this brilliantly. I want to say like this is like a really, really, really severe case of postpartum depression. Like a lot of women experience this, but it doesn't get to this level of dangerousness.
But I think it's more common than we think it is because I think a lot of women don't share it.
Yes.
And they just try to power through.
Yes.
And I think a lot of women end up feeling like this.
Yeah. I love that it was represented like this. And it wasn't just some like, oh, she went to the doctor and got put on anxiety meds and fixed. That's it. Done. Because I want to tell you, I never dealt with anxiety, depression, anything like that until after I had my first child. And I was like, I was 20, 2 years old. I did not know what postpartum depression was. I had no idea. It was never talked about, right? We had no idea. But my had never gotten to the level that Padma's had gotten to. And it was a whole nother awakening. It is so scary. It's really scary not feeling like yourself when you already don't feel like yourself as a new parent, and then something added on top of it to where your body doesn't even feel like itself anymore. I mean, it's traumatizing. But she thankfully gets checked into the hospital. I'm glad she's getting the help that she needs, and I hope that it continues smoothly. Like, I feel like she's been through enough. Like, don't start like throwing different like problems at her while she's going through this recovery. Like, just let her heal. Oh my gosh, poor Padma.
What I like too is they got to the root of the issue. I mean, sometimes it plays out differently in every single person who gets postpartum depression. I don't think even regular depression is not the same for everybody. It looks different for everybody.
Yep.
And I think with her, I appreciated that they got to the root of the issue, which is that I am not good enough to be their mother. And right after you give birth and you have that thought and it festers and it eats away at you, it destroys your will to do anything. Because if that's where you're at, you can't fix that. You can't come back from that in your mind. And so I like that when she went to Leela, what she said, that's what she said. And I appreciate that. And even Padma, when she was in the cell, that broke my heart when she was like, they think I'm crazy.
Oh, I was like, no, baby, you're not crazy. Like, don't think that.
This was a hard episode to watch. I literally cried through the entire thing.
Yeah, it was an emotional one. I didn't cry. You know, you guys know me. I cry over the stupid stuff, not the actual serious stuff. So the only really other thing I want to hit on to this really bad is, and this is like, as soon as this part happened, I was like, this is going to be a good conversation on the podcast tonight. AJ's reaction. I didn't like it.
I understood it completely.
I understand that's where I was like being pulled, like my arms separating from each other on the sides. Like I was being pulled two different ways. Because I'm like, I understand he's wanting to make sure that his children are safe and well cared for and not put in any danger. But on the other hand, I was like, well, you like what about Padma? Like, you need to like, don't like try to take away her rights or anything. Cause I feel like that's where it was kind of being pushed at first, but he was going to take the kids from her. And I'm like, that's the opposite thing that she needs to recover from this. She doesn't need her kids taken away as a punishment. So it was very confusing. I still don't even know how I feel about it 100%. I understand both sides.
I completely get it. And I wasn't bothered. I mean, it's a heartbreaking situation for all involved. And I think AJ is not, his first responsibility is to his kids. And so the fact that postpartum depression is not talked about, it's not discussed enough, it's seen as a silly, trifling little thing because people don't realize how severe it gets. So for him to find out, okay, she just left the boys, she loves them, but she abandoned them to try to kill herself. So that has to be his overriding fear. It's not really like, I'm going to abandon Padma. It's an overriding fear that, okay, if this is where she is at, what if this is not a fixable thing? And it was just a moment of panic for the safety of his kids. So it was a moment. And the moment when Layla, and I think that's why Layla handled it so calmly, because she understood too, that's an absolute right reaction for a parent to have for their children. Yeah. And so when all she had to do was just mention Padma's state, and AJ was like, you're right. So I think he needed to have, I think if he didn't have that reaction, it would be a little weird that his first concern wouldn't be, because he didn't say they're not safe. He said, are they going to be safe with her?
Yeah.
And I think that's also a question that he would need to ask.
They're not in a relationship. They're not together.
Yeah.
She's just the mother.
That's true. I guess I always look at it as if they are in a relationship. I know they're not, but I always just put him there. Which I shouldn't, but
I think they will be eventually.
It feels kind of like they are at points.
Yeah.
I think the main issue I had with Leela this episode would be when Bevan told her that she didn't see it because Padma was hiding it. She
Oh,
didn't want anyone to see it. No, she wasn't hiding it.
No,
She was begging for help
just no one was paying
from
attention to her.
literally everyone.
okay. I'm so glad you said that too, because when she said that, it kind of stuck me wrong too. I was like,
Mhm.
I feel like I saw it, and I only saw it for like 10 minutes the last week.
But again, Devon's first priority is Leela, not Padma. So Devon
Yeah.
was trying to keep Leela from going off the rails, but that was the absolute. That's a flat out lie. It's
Yeah. Yes.
No, you may have not seen it because you didn't want to see it and you didn't want to believe it was there, but all the signs were there. I mean, we've been calling postpartum. Granted, we see things that they didn't, but
Yeah.
if you were around her for a moment,
Yeah.
you would see that.
I don't know
AJ
how
even
anybody
told her
didn't
that.
clock it. And she's around doctors
Mhm.
only. How did no doctor realize it? Just
So that's my main issue with it, is that she's been surrounded by doctors, not just
yeah.
normal people in her life. Doctors. They should
Mhm.
know the signs to look for.
Yeah. And granted, like the people she's surrounded with are surgeons, but still, I think
They
it's
went to
indicative that one's
medical
a heart
school.
surgeon. Yeah.
I mean, if we can clock postpartum depression and we've never been to medical school, I think
it helps that all of us have had. I didn't have postpartum depression. I had manic depression. So I think
I
that
had
all of
postpartum.
us, and so did Tiffany, right? So I think all of us were like, we've been there. We know exactly what that is. And I think for AJ, when you listen to him talk in the episode before this, and he said something along the lines of, she needs to get away to be better. That's great. So he knew. Leela also knew because she said, I know something's not right. Just because she didn't call it postpartum depression, she knew. So for Devon to say that to her was not only a lie about Padma, but it was a lie about Leela because Leela knew something was wrong. But she chose, for whatever reason, to keep her distance and only communicate via text message.
Yeah. There was mistakes that were made, but I feel like they did have a good talk.
They did.
Mhm.
I mean,
They needed it too, because they
Mhm.
haven't
They
been
did.
talking very much lately.
they did. They needed that talk, and I was pleased with it.
And
I liked
Padma
it. I
needs
liked
Leela
that
as an
scene.
advocate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
She's gonna need her family now.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I did
And-
love the line when Padma said, I don't know what I'd do without you. And Leela looked at her and said, I can't be without you.
I know.
Letting her know that she matters enough to not do this thing. That was the part. It was that conversation right there that made me cry. Not just that they said that back and forth, but when you see Padma being that vulnerable and actually giving voice to her fears for the first time and seeing Leela see her in it and not turn away the way Padma thought everyone would.
Yeah. I think everybody reacted how they reacted, and
They did react the way they reacted. Yeah.
Pretty appropriately.
Yes.
Other than me getting a little bit irritated with AJ, which I probably shouldn't be irritated with him, but I guess maybe I just put AJ on a pedestal and I feel like he should react perfectly.
Yeah.
To these things, and that's probably where this is coming from for me personally. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, as soon as Padma said that she had an issue, which was, I mean, bravo for her. Bravo, really. Because that's I feel like the hardest. I mean, I think that's kind of a famous saying. It's the hardest step is to recognize that you have an issue. I know this is not addiction, but it goes to the same. It still counts. It's the same thing.
100% does. And it reacts the same way. It takes grip of you the same way. And it's hard to break out of the same way. I mean, I had both. I was an addict and I had depression. And they aren't that much different in the way that it destroys you.
Mm-mm.
Also the way it's seen by society, and you don't want to get help because you're the way you feel. You feel embarrassed, almost ashamed.
Yeah. You don't want to say you have an issue.
But also all these doctors with all these pressures that she's around. I mean, look at all the pressures Leela was under the last year. And she went through it and she handled it. No one, I mean, we kind of saw her fall apart a little bit, but Padma didn't. And maybe being surrounded by people who are able to rise above this stuff, because I mean, AJ, didn't he have like a form of autism? Didn't the very first season we saw him, didn't he say something like that? There was
I don't remember that.
there was something there, I thought, that made him more black and white, that made everything a specific scope for him. And so he's able to rise above it a little easier. If I'm remembering, maybe I'm mixing shows here. I know there's another show where there's an autistic doctor, but I thought AJ was as well. But either way, she sees these doctors who, under immense pressures, can seem superhuman and unaffected. And that has to be a shameful thing for her to be struggling with this thing that she wanted so bad and was so sure she could do well at, to be able to say, I can't hack this. It's shame. It's deep-rooted shame.
I mean, it's just going to be a hard conversation no matter what. No matter who you're having it with, no matter of anything. It's just a difficult situation. It's a difficult talk, and it's hard to come to terms with. You don't want to ever admit you have an issue, right? Nobody does. Everybody wants to seem perfect and act perfect, and behind closed doors, I mean, we all have issues. Every single person, I don't care how perfect you are, you got an issue.
Yeah, I really connected with Padma from this episode because I know I wasn't to the point that she was at, but I was very close.
Yeah.
After I had Sophia.
I'm sorry.
It was, I think that was the reason. It was a very emotional episode for me.
Totally get it.
I feel like I've been where she's been.
Isn't it insane what our bodies do?
We are very specifically, we're very specifically designed, and to see it all work in ways that both come against us and work for us is just, there's constant motion in all parts of our bodies. And it's hard. I think it's the other reason why this is so hard to grasp, is because we have this idea that, well, no, we should be better. We should be working as a functioning human. And if we aren't, then and that's why she was to the point of suicide. And that's probably why you got there. And that's why I got to the point of suicide, was I'm unfixable. If I'm not functioning right in something I'm supposed to be functioning right at, I'm irretrievably broken. And you're not. You're never too broken to be saved and put back together.
Exactly. But they've made it very safe to call 988. All you got to remember, and somebody will be there to talk to you and talk you through and let you know that you do matter. Even though it might not feel like it right now, it does matter. You do matter. So call 988 and talk to somebody.
Yeah, just start a conversation.
Yeah. This person doesn't know you at all. I don't think you even have to tell them your name. Like, you just can talk. Do it. It'll make you feel better.
And, we can't stress that enough. And we have been putting that plug in for the last few weeks, not because we get anything out of it, but because we want people to understand that you have value. You were created with value. You have value. You will continue to have value. Even we can't stress that enough. And we don't want to lessen that message, but we are going to move on to the other parts of the episode now. Just remember that number, 988. Write it down right now if you're struggling. Even if you don't want to call them right now, stop what you're doing and write it down if this is something that you're struggling with, and just keep it with you. But we are going to take a dive into Conrad, because he was the other. Him and his trifecta there was the other aspect of the show. And we knew a conversation was coming. And I've said it before. I even said it last week, because I said how much I enjoyed Cade last week. And I've said it from the beginning. The only reason I don't like her is because I cannot stand her with Conrad. The more I see her away from Conrad, the more I like her. And it's continued. And I loved her this week as much as I did last week.
Let me tell you, I have been the only Cade fan.
Yes, you have.
For a long time. I'm like on my own little island in our fandom. Now, I did say last podcast that I want Conrad with Billy. I said it, and I still feel like it. I feel like that's whatever. But let me tell you what, I am more in love with Cade after this week than I was before. I loved
Mhm.
how she stood up for herself.
Yeah.
She told him that this is why I haven't been as open with you, which is why a lot of people had issues with her, is that she seemed cold and off put with him. Well, she said why now. You were
But
never open with me.
that's not the only reason why, though.
It's not the only reason why.
Because
but I
Conrad
feel
tried
like
really
it
hard
is.
to make it work with her.
I
And
don't know how hard he tried.
he did. He invited her. She was the one who wouldn't get involved. And at a certain point, you got to be like, all right, well,
Well, because she knew that he would wanted to be with Billy. She knew that.
after a bit she did, but in the very beginning, she did not. And
She seemed to take offense to him saying he tried really hard.
she did.
Why are you taking offense
So
to
did
this?
Amanda right there.
He tried really hard
What?
because
No, he
you
didn't.
were not trying.
He
Yes,
did
he
not
did.
try. No,
He
he
did
didn't.
How
too.
many times did he try
he
and get her
didn't.
to come over to dinner with him and his daughter? How many
Yeah,
times
because
did
she
blow
knew
him
he
off?
wasn't in fully.
No, she didn't.
So
After a while, she did.
wasn't
Yes.
going to put Gigi in that spot because she has a big heart and she
Oh.
loves little Gigi.
All right. I
Okay.
like Kate now because she's not with Conrad, but let's not make up stories that are complete fabrications about this
Yeah.
character. All right.
Hey, I live in my own world.
I thought that was an unfair thing to say because Conrad is not the reason. Her life is the reason. And that was one actually point that I had in contention with this, because last week she shone with that. And she told her dad just last week, you're the reason I can't get close to anybody. And this week she said, Conrad, you're the reason I didn't get close to you. No. We just discussed last week why the real reason is that you don't get close to people. Don't
It was
turn
Andrew.
on someone else. So yes, I do think that she sensed something was wrong in the last couple of weeks, but to start off with, the way the relationship, because Conrad was interested in her from the jump when he saw her. She was
Yes.
interested in him from the jump. There was no other indication there. And of course, she was a damsel in distress. So Conrad was even more into her than he was into Billy in the beginning. So it was, Conrad is not the reason she couldn't get close. And I thought that was really unfair, especially since last week we had such a huge breakthrough with her. Because that was our
Okay.
biggest contention. But her
Okay.
father is the reason.
Yeah, I hear you.
I know.
But
I'm
listen
talking
also to
louder.
this. I just had a brain fart.
Well, that's because you got nothing in this argument. That's why.
No, I
You
did.
have
I
no
had something
case.
so good. No, I did. I had a good thing.
Must not have been important.
Oh no, it was.
But here's the other thing too. How mad can you get at someone for not knowing, or not, at least not choosing not to recognize the feelings you have for someone? Because I really think it took him almost losing Billy, for him to be like, uh-oh, I guess these are more than what I thought they were. I really do think that kickstarted in his brain, because I think he was trying so hard to make it work with Cade that he was pushing everything. Because I think he was afraid
Of what Nick's
memory. Nick's memory hurt. That's his best friend. She is so integral to him and Gigi's life. What if it's not actually relationship material? I mean, there's a lot of things to be afraid
Oh,
of.
I get it. That's
they
how
make
I felt
sense?
at first.
No.
I did. That's why I didn't want him with Billy, is because of all those reasons.
So how can you hold it against Conrad?
Because he should have been more truthful with himself.
He should have been perfect and above every rule.
Hey, listen, I love Matt. Really do. Conrad's peeing me off lately.
Not me.
And he needs to get his act together so I can.
He did.
I can't say be in love with him again because I have never fallen out with Matt. But
did he make a mistake here? 100%. Yes. Did he own up to that? 100%. In every area.
And also blamed her in the process.
He did not blame her. He did not. He said, I have not been honest with you. I have not been honest with myself. I have been pushing these feelings away because I wanted to make it work with you. And here's my thing. Cade was so upset at I wasn't honest with you. She was coming there to confess she hasn't been honest with him.
I know that part did. I can't
How
even
mad can you really
part.
be at him? You've been lying to him for months, knowingly lying to him for months about your father who was operating on people under the influence.
I think he let her speak first because he wanted her to admit something so bad that him breaking up with her really wasn't even going to
He
matter.
had no idea what she was coming there to say. None.
I know. But he had
I don't
hopes
even
that
think
she
he-
was going to break up
No,
with
he
him before he could break up with her.
God.
First thing I
He
thought
did
of.
not. No way. He did not.
While I was
There's-
watching it, it's the first thing I thought of.
There was no indication that she was coming there with any sort of news like that at all.
Well, no, when she's like,
What show is
"We need
Amanda
to
watching?
talk."
She must be getting like behind the scenes details we're not.
No, like whenever like they walked over to buy the couch, where she's like, I don't think like he thought when she came in there was like an issue, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like whenever he's like, we need to have a discussion, and she was like, I need to have a discussion with you too.
So your
And
love for
then-
Kate has
and-
completely transformed the character that has been consistent and steady for the past 6 years. Your love for this female character who just appeared on the scene has completely altered the truth we know about Conrad Hawkins.
Hey,
He's
Conrad,
honorable and he is decent.
oh,
He sounds like Batman.
making out with other ladies while you're in a relationship is not honorable.
That
He
was a
broke
mistake,
all
admittedly.
my trust. No,
He
he's
made
done.
a single mistake that
Sorry.
he did
It was
not
one
wait-
kiss, not a makeout.
Exactly. And he
Uh,
did not wait to own up to it. He told her the very
Ooh.
moment he saw her.
Yeah,
And
it shouldn't
yeah,
have
he
that's
haven't
true.
told
He
Billy.
shouldn't
You're
have
right. It
kissed
shouldn't
Billy
happen.
until after
He's
that. After
human.
he had broken up with Kate. That's
He's human.
stupid.
It was a reaction out of a very emotional near-death experience. Kate shouldn't have been lying to him for months and months about where she was going, what she was doing, what her father was doing, what he did at the hospital, the jeopardy
She
he put
had
the
her
hospital in them, and
reasons.
so did he. And his was a moment
No.
of intense feeling off of a near-death experience day. So yes,
I
he
just
did
want to
make a
see how
mistake.
far I can push Marine. This is my entire.
I
night
feel like I
tonight.
should have brought my popcorn.
Here's the thing. I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm 1,000% right on this. So I'm just enjoying this ride of watching you stumble over your words and try
Hey,
to come up with an
our-
argument against it.
Our fans
not
already
changed.
hate that I'm a Kate fan. So
Well, now get on board because now we all are. So
everybody, you got it. You just have to love Kate. You really do. And I think this is this is probably, I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about this yet, but I am. The sparks between Kate and new Dr. Handsome Man,
excuse me.
I like them.
I said that last week.
Did you really? I don't remember
Yes.
that.
I said Kate and Yamada should get together, and everybody laughed me like, "Oh, the
Yamada.
two ones that everybody hates." Like,
They're
Yeah,
definitely
I
sparks.
just
Like
think they go
that's gonna
together.
happen. They kind of like set that up at the end of this episode.
I
Like, it's
called
definitely gonna
that.
happen. Which
Get-
I like him better after this week.
I like them both. The reason I didn't like them is because with Yamada, he was constantly in a war with Conrad because
Yeah.
he felt like he had to compete and be alpha male
Yeah.
for Billy. So he became this smug, I wanted to hit him. And then Cade, I didn't like her. There was nothing to like about her when she was with Conrad. There really wasn't. This episode is the first episode she came up. Well, I know it's not, last week was the first episode where she came alive. And she
Yeah.
became this ball of emotion and fierceness. And yes, that's
Yeah.
what I'm here for. So I
like it.
want her to have a relationship. I want her to be happy. And I think that she would be great with Yamada.
I do too. I really like it. I like her with him better than I liked her with Conrad. I said it.
I've been saying that.
I think all Conrad deserves is Billy.
See, now you say that like an insult, though.
Yeah, that sounds
Like I
Right.
turn
Do you
that
hate
around.
Billy now?
sounded really off.
Kate has transformed every truth that Amanda has ever known about any of these characters. They're suddenly all they've never been reliable. They have never been honorable. They have never been truthful or good.
Man, Billy and Kate's conversation, by the way, is that in here?
Weird.
Is that- I
Yeah.
don't know.
Billy speaks with Kate about what happened.
Okay. So that whole conversation, was that not really awkward to anybody else?
It felt weird to me,
It felt very,
honestly.
I don't know if it was the writing or the acting. That's probably more the writing than the acting, and maybe it was a little bit of both. I don't know. But I did not feel that conversation. I feel like that could have gone differently. I did I did love Cade's. It's not the writing because I actually like the words that were said. I like the conversation. I guess I just didn't like the feeling of maybe where it was. I don't know. Something threw me off about that.
It felt like
that
she
scene.
exempted Billy and villainated Conrad is what it felt like. When they
Yeah.
both were at fault, they both did. So I wanted to see more of a, you know what you did? I mean, you know what? It's done. We're adults. What you did was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. It was both of you. But it felt like it was, Billy, it wasn't your fault. It was Conrad is what it felt. She didn't say that, but that's what it felt like to me. And I was like,
Yeah.
It's Billy's fault too.
Maybe that's it. I liked it and I didn't like it because I did like the conversation. I thought that Cade really did stand up for herself. She said her truth and she didn't hold back. And I feel like she really is okay with it. I feel like she's like, okay, yeah, that's, it's not me.
And
Nothing
she
to do
handled
with
that
me.
gracefully.
She did.
And
I'm
who
like,
of us would have
that's my girl.
reacted that way?
That's my girl.
If
I love it.
Granted, it's my husband, not my boyfriend, but if my husband or even my boyfriend was kissing some other lady, I don't think I would have been that like, it is what it is. I don't see myself having that reaction.
Take him.
I don't think that would be my reaction either. But I thought it was, not only was it was merciful. Cade was merciful to Billy. She even said at the end, hey, neither one of us ever said I love you. Yeah. We're okay. Yeah. She didn't have to say that. She didn't have to make Billy feel better about this. She did, though.
She did. She handled it so gracefully.
But I think it's because she's not that upset about the loss of Conrad, because I think that for all of us, what we're feeling, she wasn't really in that relationship.
Yeah. I think she was a foot in, a foot out.
Yeah, always.
Most of the time.
But I think it's because she didn't love Conrad. Conrad was the first person to see her, and I think she was taking a chance on somebody more than I really like him. It's that it was more like, I'm going to take a chance and see how this goes when I connect with someone, rather than I really love him. And I think that she took that chance, and I think that's why it was so fast for her to go to Yamada and say, let's have a drink afterwards, because she did put herself out there and she didn't break. And I think that now she's gonna be like, all right, I can actually do this with someone who I'm going to work with and who I'm going to do well with.
Absolutely.
Did anyone else notice they didn't actually break up? Like, they had a conversation. She stormed out of the house, and now he's with Billy.
It's assumed.
Okay, I don't like assuming stuff like that.
Obviously, the conversation between Billy and Cade kind of made it crystal clear.
Yeah.
Where their attentions are.
And the other thing too is that when Conrad saw Billy, he said, I don't love how we got here, but I love that we're here. And he also told her, we're going to do this right from here on out. So they didn't hold hands. They didn't kiss. They didn't do anything until they both dealt with everybody they needed to deal with. Yeah. And then they were free to do something. So did they make a mistake? Absolutely. But they corrected course. They owned up to it. They dealt with the people they need to deal with. They made sure their relationships were, and both of those relationships were relatively new and easily dealt with. And I think them working together, I think honestly, because of Cade and how she reacted, their working relationship is going to be much easier now because of how Cade
I think so too.
But I do like, and I think Yamada also was the other style, the other coin flip. Oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? He's the other side of the same coin.
What?
Yamada he handled it the same way Kay did, with grace and with knowledge. And I don't think him and Billy, again, we don't even know how long they were together. We were never giving any indication, timeline, how serious they were. Were they sleeping together? Were they living? Like, no information whatsoever.
I honestly forgot they were together.
I didn't, but
I would know and then I'd forget. And then I know.
Yeah, we know nothing about them. So I think, and he even said to her, and this was the sad part, because he's like, don't worry, my heart's intact. And I went, for about a minute before your patient dies. And then he got the page. I was like, oh, now I feel bad. I didn't mean to be so flippant about it because I didn't think it was actually going to happen in that way, but it did. But he knew beforehand. everybody. And I think that's the
Yeah.
thing is I do think that towards the end there, everybody, I think it was that picture from the wedding. I think that's when Cade started to be like, okay, there's more here.
Yeah.
Same with Yamada. So, but I think that Yamada he was a placeholder. But we see after how he handled the surgery with AJ, and I was mad at him the first time I saw him in surgery with AJ. Like, this is not your wheelhouse, or this is not your house. It is your wheelhouse, but this is not your house. But seeing him this week was a little bit better because I liked watching him work with AJ, and he could be given more of a permanent place if the show continues. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't seem as cocky this week either,
Mm-hmm.
which helped.
Again, like with Kate, he was humanized this week.
Yep. I really, really liked the storyline with Dr. Perry. I don't know. Usually I'm not as interested in the
Side characters.
patient. Yeah, like the patient character. Like they're always like nice to have because it kind of breaks up the drama. But I was like really committed to this storyline this week.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool, like all the stuff he had accomplished in his life and hearing about it. And whenever he asked for Yamada, and I was like, what is that?
What is that? Because you forgot he existed?
I thought he was asking for Belle's son. I can't remember his name. I can't remember.
Oh, yikes.
And so I was like, why is he asking for? Was he, isn't he like a plastic surgeon or something? My confusion until Yamada walked up and I was like, oh,
that one.
okay. The break, there's been a break, and I've watched a lot of TV in between the first resident, the last episode and this episode there. So I had gotten a little confused about Jake. I was thinking Jake. I know who Jake is, but that's who I thought he had asked for some reason.
Yeah, Jake and Yamada. They sound so much.
I'm having a heart attack. Get me my plastic surgeon.
That's why I was so confused. I was like, wait, like, does he know him? He's not asking for as a doctor, right? Because I think I'd want AJ over Jake when it came to my heart. Anyways, we ended up finding out that Dr. Perry was Yamada's mentor, which was really cool. Like I said earlier, I loved the storyline. I liked the banter kind of between them two. It was nice. I enjoyed
I like
it.
how he walked into the hospital with his own EKG and was like, this is what's going on. This is what I'm having.
Who took this? I did.
That's so cool. I wonder if that, like, how often that actually happens.
Right.
Like now that's like 3 different separate shows they've done this on. So how often is this really happening?
That's weird.
That's what I want to know now. So he goes ahead, he diagnosed himself with another thing, like while going into surgery as well. I don't know if AJ liked that. I think he did. In the long run, he did.
Because he was not AJ's direct mentor, but he was from afar.
Yeah.
He was someone who AJ highly admired. He is very famous in his field of study, and he was someone who AJ looked to. So I think that AJ was just kind of like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. And that was the surgical cap. That was really cool of him. I actually had to rewind a little bit because I thought he handed him a baseball hat. I was like, how are you supposed to do surgery in that? I had to like rewind and look again. I was like, oh, missed that. But I felt like that was really special and meaningful. That was cool. I know the surgical caps, at least in other medical shows, are like a very important and personal thing. There's usually some kind of superstition around them.
I did like this storyline though. I thought it was interesting. I thought that even he was able to diagnose himself from what he could feel happening, which indicates long time in this field. And we find out he's a teaching doctor, so he had interns that he regularly taught. And I thought this, oh my gosh, I cried a little. I got a little emotional. The scene where he was dying.
Oh yeah,
and all of his interns came in, and he was teaching them and showing them how Yamada does it. And I was like, I thought that was a really cool played out scene.
It really
I
was.
actually really liked
Mhm.
that a lot. And I've never seen Grey's, but it felt like a Grey's sort of moment.
It really did. It really did. That is a definite Grazy
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah. And I did like when he said something, oh no, there's no time. There's no time. This is happening right now and we can't do this. But then even when AJ, he's like in the healing touch and AJ said, well, I don't know about that, but I have the skills and I have the talent and I have a very big ego.
Ego.
And he's like, then you're and the healing touch, you're the one I want. So he was humble enough to defer to another surgeon. And that's, I mean, doctors are their own worst patients. And he was
Mhm.
humble enough in who he was, confident enough in what he did, that he was able to give it over to AJ to have him do this and have Yamada be
Yeah.
his decision maker. And the fact that he wanted Yamada there while he died was just like, oh,
Oh, that was so heartbreaking. The whole death scene was so heartbreaking. I already felt like very connected
mhm.
to Dr. Perry. I feel like he had been there for a while already. That's why I was like, this, I don't know. Usually I don't get attached to the patients very often, but there's been like, I would say like a few that the Resident does that. I feel like a lot more
Yeah.
than other Red Medical shows. Is
I'd
even
agree
though
with
those
that.
characters are there for that one episode, you really do like get attached to them. You learn so much about them, and they make it very personable. So that is something that the Resident does really well, is make us fall in love with those characters and then kill them off. Just saying.
I mean, at least we know that they're only going to be there for one episode, so we know to expect it.
How do I know that? I don't know
Because
that.
don't let Cade throw you off that much. The Resident is who the Resident is.
That wasn't what I
Some
was
patients
expecting
come
her to
back.
say.
But I did like that AJ didn't want to give up on Perry. And I like that Yamada, even at the end, he was saying, well, we could do this. Can't we do this? And Perry had to be like, no, we can't do this. So it's just like Devin didn't want to give up on his patient Lillian, and Devin fought for her. And it was actually something that Billy and Kit weren't fully, he had to sort of convince them to be on board with it.
Yeah.
I really like Devin's patient, Lillian.
Yeah. I want
I
to
did
be
too.
her when I get older.
I mean,
really
even
liked her.
before she got her memory back, like she's this 84-year-old woman out there trying to beat up her mugger. Who does that?
Some feisty
She's
woman.
very feisty.
I liked her.
84. Yeah, I really liked her. She
I'm glad we didn't have 2 deaths this episode.
I thought it was weird. Like, I get they were closing down the trauma center, but to have one anesthesiologist for every surgery, and it sounds like it wasn't just Billy and AJ's. There was also a third one that Dr. Cho had to go to. So I just
Yeah. How are they doing that?
I bet that crazy night anesthesiologist would come back for free, probably, because she's nuts.
if it weren't for Billy pulling through at the last second there, man.
Oh yeah. She really did not want to do a surgery.
No, she was so afraid.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't blame her. We all knew that nothing was going to happen this time. Like nothing as in Son's coming to try to kill you in a stairway.
I mean, the old lady could try to beat her up, though.
This is true.
Well, I wouldn't put it past her.
I had my suite mate in college. Her name was Lillian, and I feel like this is going to be her when she's 84 years old. She has the same exact temperament. Lillian, if you're watching it, she made me think of you.
Maybe it's just a Lillian thing.
That's a good thing.
Maybe.
I really
glad she
enjoyed
woke
when
up and had her memory, though.
She was like a firecracker just going off.
She was amazing.
I love that she won a PBS, because PBS is If you don't watch PBS, you're missing out on a lot because I love that station. There is so many good things coming out of PBS. And she was like, don't forget PBS. And that made me laugh. I loved that. That's why she's so smart.
I haven't watched PBS since I was a kid.
Oh my gosh, PBS is so good. They have so many good shows on there. They do. Trust me. I trust you blindly all the time.
I'm not watching PBS for you.
Wow.
I have the PBS Masterpiece for Sanditon. That's it.
Masterpiece puts out a boatload of good stuff, but that's mostly BBC stuff coming over to Masterpiece.
Isn't that what Sanditon's on? Isn't that why I have?
That's what Sanditon's on. But they have like the genealogy show on there, and they have like a lot of baking shows on there and a lot of cooking shows on there. See?
I should look at that.
Oh, you should, huh? I wish I was sitting right next to you right now because I would just
thought it was
backhand
like
you.
the 777 Club. Like stuff.
Do you mean the 700 Club?
Oh,
the Christian programming? Are you thinking 666 is there, Amanda? Because that is something completely different.
No, I thought it was 777. 700 Club. That's right. That sounds way better than what my mind was saying.
You thought you were trying to say 007. I'm like, that's not right.
The 007 Club.
The Christian 700 Club starts airing at like 10 o'clock for like an hour and then it's done. But that's all they have. PBS is not a Christian affiliate.
Oh. I don't know. I thought the 700 Club was just like playing all day on it.
No, it's public broadcast system. It's a public network. It's not Christian network. It's not privately owned.
A Christian network.
That's the only way the 700 Club would run nonstop is if it was a Christian.
I don't know. I've never watched the 700 Club.
You called it a devil thing accidentally.
I said 777. That's not a devil thing. 666. Double 777 is God's number.
Freudian slip. All right, let's jump back in. But I she was really entertaining. She was really fun from beginning to end, and they needed a win. Everybody in the hospital needed a win because even if you didn't know this, Dr. Perry, you were sad at his death because he heavily influenced many, many, many interns, and he heavily influenced the field. And there were people in the hospital who knew him who were sad. They needed a win. And so Lillian was the perfect anecdote not anecdote. She was the perfect antidote to that. Oh. You're more than just a story, Lillian.
I really enjoyed Lillian's story with Kit when she got her memory back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just she's 84 and she's not giving up. You know, she was being mugged. She did not back down, that mugger. So, which in turn is inspiring Kit to not back down to the governor.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Which
she's gonna fight him.
Exactly. That's what she needs to do. I mean, they made her cut the trauma center along with all those doctors and nurses. And you know what? She's standing up and she's saying, nope, I'm not doing it. I like that. This is the side of Kit that I like the most. This is why she was CEO. This is where she's meant to be. And I know she's going to do it next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she got a little boring when she became CEO.
She did. I kind of miss old.
But that's because this show started with fight and with grit.
Yeah.
But once they achieve a certain position, it seems like all the characters stop fighting. That's why we like the big bads in The Resident, because we start watching the show because of the fight, and Kit needs something to fight for.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see
she does
Bruce Greenwood in the preview either.
Because they cut their funding by a third. Had to.
Well, that governor might get what's coming to him. And I think that we see that in the preview for next week. It's 2 hour. Now it says 2 hour season finale. I think it will be a series finale. I think that's why it's 2 hours. I think that's why they only came back for 2, because Fox could not guarantee them more episodes because I don't know that the ratings were where they're supposed to be. Granted, this is just a gut instinct. I have not looked at a single number, and I'm not trained in this, so I wouldn't even be able to read the numbers accurately, even if I did look at the numbers. But I think it will be a series finale, unfortunately. again, we won't know until we find out fall preview, until we find out fall lineup. So, or a little when they start announcing those. But next week, it's 2 hours. This is what I don't like. Just make it a 2-hour single episode. Why are they making it to two 1-hour episodes?
I know.
You're playing it back to
bothers
back.
me.
It's one episode.
I
Because
don't know
I
why
was
they
trying
do
to look
that.
up the preview and I was like, wait, what? Do I want 12 or do I want 13? And it took me a while to be like, oh, wait, it's one. It's one episode. But it's 2 hours. I'm not complaining because they're making me, well, they are making me a little mad. But I'm just saying, just make
Yeah.
it streamlined.
No, I get what you're
people.
saying.
Streamline it. But next week, the less than 30, it was like 15 seconds in the episode that we got of a preview for a 2-hour episode. And it's the governor is in with a heart problem. And he says, you can save my life. You get your funding. I wonder if he's going to die and they're going to get a decent governor and they're going to get their funding anyway. I mean,
Maybe.
I feel
They're
like
going to have to find the funding from somewhere if they want to keep the show going. You can't have this show and not a trauma unit. I mean,
yeah.
they did the same. Again, they did the same thing in Grace. They took away the trauma unit for like a few days and then they ended up getting it back. So we'll see.
I did like that Hunley was like, no, we can't take a gunshot victim. Our trauma center is closing in 1 minute. She calls them back. Just kidding. We can take them.
I know. You imagine the dispatch guy. You're kidding.
Those EMTs must have been so irritated.
Just kidding. You can bring him in here, silly.
Just wanted to see how far you'd go.
We have somebody bleeding out. This is not a time to joke.
I'm wondering if the next 2 episodes were not meant to be like
Like-
back to back.
One, oh, maybe not.
Because they have, since they do have 2 different names and 2 different episode numbers, maybe it was not originally planned that way.
Maybe that's more an indication of a series finale.
Uh-huh. Which makes me nervous.
Maybe they were supposed to have a 22 episode run like normal.
Yeah, that's my thought.
The other thing
I'm
too
sorry.
was that their Instagram post when they wrapped the 200th episode, it sounded, the wording, the verbiage there sounded like a goodbye. Not a see you next season. It sounded like a thanks for all the great memories. I think they actually said something along the lines of that. Thanks for the fun times. Thanks for the good memories. It's been a great run. I think they said something along those lines. So it sounded like a goodbye to me. So I think that they might know they don't get another one. So maybe we'll see it all closed off. Obviously, we'll see next week. And we say that every time. We'll see next week. But I think that all signs point to that. And I think that they're probably going to end the show on a good note. I think I'm probably going to get more I think it'll feel more like a confirmation for me if we see all of our side characters in this next one episode. If Nolan's there, if it's Nolan and Hunley and Jessica and Irving, if we see all these people in there, like, oh, bye, Resident.
Those are going to be the ones I miss the most. Sorry.
I kind of felt like the narwhal from Elf. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. Like I hope that the Resident kind of goes off into the same sort of thing.
I know.
I mean, not that I wanted to end.
It's just, I don't know. It's been.
They changed the formula and it wasn't a successful change.
Yeah.
I mean,
it really wasn't. Like, if they can go back and bring it back to how it was, then I think it would be great. But I don't even know how they would get it to go back from here. I feel like they've just drug this on too far.
I feel like they were trying too hard to be what made other shows successful rather than be what made them successful. I feel like they were working too hard in a competition rather than, hey, we have something that works. Let's stick with it. Because the moment they changed the formula, all of us were like, yeah, I don't like this. Of course,
After
not all
Emily
of us.
left the show, it just changed too much.
Yeah.
It was too much like a different show.
But the crazy thing is it didn't have to change. They started writing differently after that. They started creating scenarios differently. They started doing they changed everything about the show after she left. And they didn't have to do that. You could do a character death and not change your formula. But they decided to, like, it's almost like she was the glue. So, we need to find a new glue that works again. And they didn't need to. So I don't think they're going to be renewed, sadly. I would love for them to be renewed because I feel like they're amping up towards a fight. They introduced the governor and they're amping up towards a fight. So it would be nice to watch that play out, but we're going to see some part of that play out. And honestly, if it's a series finale, I feel like this guy has to die because otherwise there's no resolution. You can't get it in 2 hours.
No.
So maybe he is going to die and they're going to get their funding and be like, yay, we won. I don't know. But tune in next week for that. It's gonna start at 8/7 Central on Fox next Tuesday, and that is it for the season. And Lone Star 911 Lone Star will take its place after that. So check out our Facebook group. We've got our Facebook group Chastain Family Fan, or the Residents Chastain Family Fan Club. Come check that out. Lots of things posted. Let's discuss. We do have a spoiler ban up, so next week, it's not currently up, but after the new episodes air, we have how long is it? 24 hours? Or is it 36?
36.
36-hour spoiler ban. So don't worry about coming on there and catching a spoiler if you don't want to see a spoiler. But we do have a spoiler thread where you can discuss with other people who are as obsessed as you, especially being a series finale. You can go right to that spoiler thread and hit it hard and start having conversations with people. Tune in for our next Resident episode, which will air next Sunday. And that will be our last one of the season. Tuesdays, we have our One Chicago is back this week as well. So Tuesday, we'll have our One Chicago episode out for you. And then Sunday, we'll be back. The next Sunday after that, we'll be back with 911 Lone Star. And that is what we have for you this week. So keep listening. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and rate us on the podcast platforms that you listen to us on. And we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.